The Locked On Podcast Network presents the College Sports Big 3 in 30. The three biggest stories in college sports. From our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. Bringing you the real story. Why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The College Sports Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest story in college sports. You are Locked On Hurricanes Postcast. Part of Locked On Sports Miami on the Locked On Podcast Network.
A huge victory for the Miami Hurricanes, and how about this? I am just going to say this before I hit that element right now and really get the show cranking into high gear. Carson Beck got it done. I've said it all year. I've been really hard on this kid, and I've been hard on Dawson. More on that later. Really hard on Carson Beck, but I said to Alex Donno, you saw it today. If you watched the pre-show, I said he had it in him to make the big plays to win the game. And as he's missing deep ball after deep ball and then taking sack after sack, I started to wonder if he ever had it in him. But man, did he deliver late in his signature game as a Hurricane. And let's not forget, same guy who beat Notre Dame late in the game, and that win ended up keeping the Irish out and put us in. So take away Louisville and SMU. An immaculate year for Carson Beck, but he went from elite game manager to elite playmaker tonight, and that was something Alex and I talked about in the pre-show. It's Greece, it's the postcast. What a win for the Miami Hurricanes. We are live on YouTube on the Number One Sports Podcast Network, and then after the show, we upload Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Stitcher, Podbean, and you down with OPP. Hell no, you see these whiskers? No, it's OTT. It's over-the-top television with Roku. It is your Canes postcast. We are just getting started. How about those big-time players making big-time plays in the big-time game?
This is what you'll be talking about.
We're talking about playing for a national championship, and with that, we're bringing in my boy and yours, the one, the only, Alex Donno. Baby, we were texting the whole night, Alex, and we did that pre-show. Early on, this looked like a complete domination for Miami. They could not touch our run game. They could not move the ball on us. They could not convert a third down. They had run 8 plays late in the second quarter, and they still hung around. Credit to Ole Miss, hanging around. They got the big run from Lacey, but early Miami dominating on the line of scrimmage, just the way they've done throughout this playoff run, Alex. It got hairy, it got dicey, it got close. The penalties were killing us again. Dropped interceptions. This could have been a blowout. Could have had 2 pick sixes. Missed deep balls early, but late in the game, when plays had to be made, it was that much maligned offense lifting the defense to a win for a change.
Man, I'm so happy. I was nearly in tears when that game ended. And even after Carson Beck scores the go-ahead touchdown, we still had to sweat out that final Ole Miss possession. Are they going to hit a Hail Mary? So the cardiac Canes in true fashion. And, Greece, it ended up being a super close game. And like you said, credit to Ole Miss. I mean, Ole Miss has been defying the odds all postseason long. I mean, their head coach left them high and dry right before the playoffs. He's trying to tamper with their roster. He's bringing assistant coaches with them. And when Ole Miss took their go-ahead touchdown and the 2-point conversion to go up 3, I mean, we were sweating. We had the heart palpitations. And, Miami's defense at that point, they were beat up. You had a bunch of guys who left the game injured. You had one of your starting corners was already injured. Your other starting corner gets kicked out of the game for what I thought was a bogus targeting call. So Miami's defense was basically being held together by duct tape, and you put the ball in the hands of your offense with just over 2 minutes. The last thing that I wanted, I mean, obviously anything's better than losing in regulation, but I did not want to go back to overtime in the desert. Like I didn't want to relive that Fiesta Bowl, the previous Fiesta Bowl experience.
And the Fiesta Bowl hasn't been great for us, man, over the years. The 86 title game, the bloodbath against Arizona and Ray Lewis's freshman year, the Ohio State game, 2 of those games in the national title game. But Alex, tonight, Carson Beck made sure that wasn't going to happen. In the face of relentless pressure, the offensive line let him down. Penalties, pre-snap penalties. Big boys got tired up front. Beck was running for his life the entire second half, and he comes out, Alex Donno, 15 plays, 75 yards, 2 minutes, 55 seconds, and he runs it in. His first rushing touchdown since the South Florida game. He runs it in. This is after he hits Malachi Toney for a touchdown in the fourth quarter. This is after big throw to Keelan Marion on that drive. And nice to see Marion have his best game as a Hurricane tonight with 7 catches for $114 and a touchdown. But Carson Beck late Not only does he run it in, Alex, but he engineers the drive. He hits the deep touchdown. Then he hits Tony for another touchdown. And then he runs it in to put the exclamation point on the victory. So what an ending. He's not done yet. Still got one more at home for Carson Beck. But for a guy who's taken so much heat all year long, and rightfully and deservedly so at times, man, did he come up big tonight when it mattered the absolute most.
And I love the way he's been running in the playoffs, Grease. I mean, we saw him, lower his head in the Ohio State game when he needed to pick up 12 yards on a third down, and he did it. And then this time around, like the awareness for him to see that he had all that space on the left side of the field and to be able to run in for that touchdown. Like I'm so happy for Carson Beck. I was listening to some of the, the post-game interviews that they were doing there in the stadium right after. And, some of Beck's teammates were talking about, hey, people said all this nonsense about Beck, but he's done all of his talking on the field. Like he's never come out in the media and defended himself or complained about, people dogging him and acting like he's not a good leader or not a good quarterback. And, to see him now 60 minutes away from a national championship and 11 days away from being able to play a national title game in your home stadium. I'm so happy for him. You mentioned Keelan Marion with the big game. Miami's ground attack, they did what they were supposed to do against that Ole Miss defense. Miami rushes for 191 yards.
They were
in this game.
Fletcher and Marty Brown were unbelievable, bro. Fletcher's a man possessed, best player on the field. And I look, I'm not going to be negative. I know there's some things to clean up. We'll get to that.
I mean, you can't be. Let's enjoy this moment. Like, don't let's enjoy this.
Plenty of time, Alex, for you all week long to get into what happened in the title game.
Right.
I want to talk about 28 first downs for Miami, 459 yards of offense, 191 on the ground, 41 minutes time of possession. And if it weren't for the 10 penalties for 74 yards, the 2 dropped pick sixes and 4 dropped interceptions, the penalties, the dropped interceptions, the lack of sacks and real quarterback pressure. Chambliss did a great job. Really impressed with him, his heart, his guts tonight. Look, Alex, that's a hell of a team, bro. I want to give props. Miss, they lose their coach. You mentioned it, but those kids, man, they have a lifetime of memories, and they're hanging their heads right now, but they can hold those heads high after the performance that they put on in these playoffs. But ever since, this is not the Ole Miss postcast, Alex, this is the Canes postcast. Ever since that loss, okay, you think of that loss to SMU, and you think of what they've done since then. 7 wins in a row, including at number 22 Pittsburgh, at Texas A&M on the road at the time. What were they, number 12 at the time? On the road. Then neutral site, Ohio State number 2, now neutral site, Ole Miss number 6. So none of those wins coming at home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How battle-tested can you be when every game's been a playoff game since that second loss, and you've gone on the road and gone to neutral sites and beaten the teams you've beaten consecutively? This team has to feel pretty much like it's a team of destiny right about now.
Yeah, this team is so dialed in, and I want to, and let me turn the negatives from the game into a positive, because how good does it feel with all of the blown opportunities and all of some of these penalties were crappy officiating, and also some legitimate dumb penalties, and also crappy officiating, and you still win the game. Like, I mean, that to me, Miami played probably their best football in the Ohio State game. We know that they're capable of doing that. So, I know whoever wins the other semifinal tomorrow is probably going to be a slight favorite against Miami, but I give the Hurricanes a chance to beat either of these teams, whether it's Indiana or whether it's Oregon. How fun would it be to play Oregon with all the Mario Cristobal storylines?
Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Never played them in a big game with as much success as the two programs have had. Indiana, too, though. Either one, it'll be a new opponent, a fresh opponent. And anything, it sounds silly to say it, Alex, but any thoughts of a letdown after that Ohio State game when you play a game like that against an opponent like that and you play the way they did? Credit to the coaches for having them ready to play and coming out on fire. Ole Miss wins the snap. They think they're going to take the ball first, take control of the game, set the pace, set the flow. They want to run 90 plays on offense. We were the ones ran 88 plays on offense tonight, Alex, and so completely took the ball out of the hands of that high-powered offense all night long. And I thought Miami could have done a lot more and had a bigger lead and not made us sweat so much. But you mentioned it, the plays that were made to win the game. Malachi Toney with the plays that he made, turning and breaking tackles 3 times in this game where he catches the ball and he's short of a first down and he's breaking tackles to get there, or the way he followed his blockers through that seam on the touchdown from Beck. And Beck delivering the ball, distributing it to so many different guys, but Tony making the plays when he had to, Beck making the plays. I said it, Alex, in the intro. Big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games. That's been a cornerstone for the Miami Hurricanes every time we've won. Tonight, no different. We're playing with freshmen out there, DBs, our corners are out. And I want to say one more thing to you because it didn't count. I thought the toe hit, by the way. I want to see more replays, and I don't think they should have overturned that. But that one-handed catch going back across his body by Malachi Toney running are you kidding me? I mean, that's up there with Odell Beckham Jr., man, for the best catch of all time. And it didn't count.
And the other thing about Tony, he had so many big blocks in the run game.
He sure did.
I mean, he should still be in high. Like, I don't want to call him a kid because he's 18, he's a grown man, but he should still literally be in high school right now. He enrolled a year early, and I'll leave you with this because I got to run back to WQAM post game in a second. I just want to send Grease, like, obviously congratulations to Miami's team, coaches, players, everybody on down, but I want to congratulate you. I want to congratulate myself. I mean, we've been through so many tough years. We've been through so many disappointing seasons, and obviously there's still work to do. We got one more game to win, but to be at this point, to actually get to the national title game when a little over a month ago we weren't sure if we were even going to get into the playoff. I want to congratulate all the Miami fans, all the everydayers that are in the comments. Like,
the everydayer
suffered. Yeah, I mean, three years ago, this team goes 5-7. Like, we were, some years we're in purgatory, some years we're in hell, and now we're on our way to heaven in the national championship game. So I just want to send a huge shout out to all the Canes family and the Miami Hurricanes nation. We've been through a lot, and we deserve this. And you deserve it, Grease. I deserve it. We all deserve this, man. And thank you so much for the time here, and crush the rest of this postcast, man. I know you will.
And most importantly, they won when you were back on U.S. soil. You didn't have to fly back like we talked about yesterday.
If I was still in Italy, Miami would have won by 50. So, I mean.
50. But let me just say one thing before you go, Alex. Be on QAM. Nobody bleeds orange and green like you do, bro. You have built this channel. I worked with you 100 years ago at 790 The Ticket. You were wearing Miami stuff every week then, and you're still wearing.
So were you.
Yeah, I mean, we had hair back then. It might be a little biased. We're looking now, but I just want to say what a joy it is to share this with you, but also
thank you
to be a part of this channel and to ride your coattails with all this audience that you've built on Locked On Canes, man. It's a special ride, but we all of us in here, the everydayers, the newbies, everyone, myself, we owe this to you. So great job with the channel, and keep it up, brother.
Well, thank you. God bless you, man, and thank you for all the hard work. And let's go Canes. We'll see you soon, Grease.
The wild card round is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Before every game during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts you can apply to bets you like most. Open your profit boost pack first thing on game day and see what boosts you want to apply. The boost lets you lean into your game day instincts, whether you're backing momentum, defense, quarterback, play, or coaching. Every play feels bigger, and the boosts make your bets feel that way too. Visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your Profit Boost pack every NFL playoff game day.
Ole Miss's season comes to the end in the Fiesta Bowl.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels.
Miami is a 3.5-point favorite all week. Miami won by 4 points. Vegas is really good at what they do. All right, so let's talk about this game. Like I said, there's probably two conversations that need to be had about this game. First off, Ole Miss started unbelievably slow, like only 7 plays in the first quarter. They had missed tackles and blown assignments, and the worst of the Ole Miss defense appeared in the first half of the game. And the fact that Miami was only ahead 17-13 should have given everybody the level of hope that they had, honestly. The second half, Ole Miss's offense started to move and started to work, and Trinidad Chambliss, he's simply the best player in college football, period. If he gets his waiver, Ole Miss is going to be a top 5 team in 2026. There's not much going on. It's going to be a harder schedule, but this is a good team. But they were able to pick it out, and he almost had nearly 300 yards passing after going in the first half for like 60 or something like that. So Trinidad Chambliss had a pretty good game in the second half of the game. But the problem that Ole Miss had was not the Miami defensive line, because that's what everybody heard about, is how good the Miami defensive line is. Ruben Bain and Mesdor and all those guys. And like I said, good defense. They are a really good defense. We talked about that all week. The problem was the offensive line for Ole Miss tonight. And where Miami had the advantage was amongst the offensive line against the Ole Miss defensive line. It was going to be an extremely physical game, and Miami took advantage of that. I thought that at the end of the game, when Ole Miss had the 27-24 lead, that Carson Beck was going to have to throw the ball down the field, and Ole Miss had a chance to get home. But at that point, and this is the sad part, at that point, Ole Miss was 90 plays in on defense by the time Carson Beck ran in, and they were just worn out. It was like gut punch after gut punch after gut punch. And credit to Miami for doing that and sticking with that. But the reality is, a missed tackle by one of Ole Miss's best defensive player gave Miami 4 points in the game. That gave them 4 points. A busted coverage gave them a walk-in touchdown in the first half. Ole Miss beat themselves. Miami didn't beat them, despite how they did offensively and all that. Now, Miami won the game, and they get the home national championship game, but Ole Miss proved it belonged at this level. And they played really well, and it worked. And I hate the chaos, in my opinion. The chaos was it caused the slow start. There wasn't the script like there normally is with an Ole Miss offense. Once Ole Miss kind of zeroed in on what they were doing, it turned into normally calling a ball game, and all of a sudden you can go muscle memory by doing that. But the script, the early part, whenever Ole Miss has a statement of intent, normally at the beginning of the game, it wasn't there. And I blame the chaos for that. The transfer portal, the LSU, all of that stuff. Now it's finally behind us. It is finally behind Ole Miss, and one positive for that is the Ole Miss transfer portal doesn't get extended past the 15th. So we'll see exactly how that looks. I do expect a couple of players to get into the transfer portal, but I don't think it's going to be anything like what we thought it might have been like a month ago, essentially. But listen, it was a great football game. It was an epic, classic football game. 2 in a row that Ole Miss has played. 3 playoff games Ole Miss has played. That's ahead of most everybody. Pete Golding is tied for 3rd in the SEC history in playoff wins. There's a lot of fun stuff that you can take away from this season. This Ole Miss football team completely balled out all year. They were the best team in the Southeastern Conference. I don't think it was particularly close. They had one bad quarter in Sanford Stadium, and then the SEC tiebreakers took over, and that's the reason Ole Miss didn't play in Atlanta. But if you look at this game, you can see how Ole Miss shot themselves in the foot. When you look at this game and how Ole Miss reacted, you should walk out of that with a lot of pride. Because like I said, once there was a problem in the first half, and there was a problem in the first half when you saw defensively. And I said all week, if Miami runs for over 150 yards, they're going to win the game. They ran for 191. We'll go over the box score in just a second. But offense-wise, they did a good job. Over 40 minutes of time of possession. Now, I'm not a big time of possession hawk, because until 30 seconds to go in the game, Ole Miss was leading the game. So I'm not really going to play the time of possession thing with anybody. And anybody that talks about that, I'll just roll my eyes and keep going. The play that Carson Beck ran in was a great call. It was man coverage. You ran people off of that. You basically got him on the ground, or he was able to run into the end zone. So it was a great play call by them. Ole Miss, defensively, they're going to be fine. They are. Today, They got out physical. You know, you always talk about the Georgia tax that you have to play. That Ole Miss Georgia game was a war. It was. And it is hard to bounce back the next week from doing that. And this was a short turnaround from that to this. Miami had an extra day of preparation and all of that going on. So you had to deal with the Georgia tax on top of everything else. But that being said, Ole Miss made plays and got back in the game. Daquan Wright was a weapon. He should have been used earlier if that was honest. And the Ole Miss offensive line played pretty well. Miami's defense is really good, but once the offense kind of got their footing, that fourth quarter happened, and I genuinely thought that Ole Miss was going to win that game, all the way up until the point where they didn't. Heck, the last play of the game was brutal pass interference. Now, granted, they're never going to call that, but good gosh, horrible pass interference. But a bust, a missed tackle, that's why you lost the game, not because of what happened in the fourth quarter, Carson Beck scoring a touchdown or the Hail Mary at the end, the pass interference and all that. That is why you lost, not because of anything else. It was on you. Ole Miss lost this game. They didn't get beat. Now, Miami won the game. Not saying they didn't, but missed tackles, double-digit missed tackles by Ole Miss in the first half, and that busted coverage was almost inexcusable.
The wild card round is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Before every game during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts you can apply to bets you like most. Open your profit boost pack first thing on game day and see what boosts you want to apply. The boost lets you lean into your game day instincts, whether you're backing momentum, defense, quarterback, play, or coaching. Every play feels bigger, and the boosts make your bets feel that way too. Visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day.
We're getting you so outrageously ready for the Peach Bowl.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Oregon, Indiana, finally here. I want to start with a vibe check in Hoosier country, because I can tell you on the Oregon side of things, maybe I'm just psyching myself out, underestimating Dan Lanning, talking myself into a spiral and all that, but when I'm looking at two coordinators that have taken head coaching jobs and have to divert at least part of the time, they've said all the right things publicly, for sure this week, that, you know, they're very committed, and I think there is definitely a good chance that they mean that. I just cannot in any reasonable sense think, yeah, you're putting 100% of your time into this game. It can't. I don't think
it can't. It's physically impossible.
Yeah, you physically
give 100% to two different jobs.
No,
you can't do it.
Yeah, the calendar is really dumb. Jordan Davison is out. Jay Harris is apparently available to play as the number 3 running back. He had one carry, was stopped on a 4th and short in the first matchup. That leaves Noah Whittington, the veteran, who's kind of an Indiana type, not a super highly recruited guy. 6th year of college football this season, and De'Aaron Hill, the true freshman. That's, of course, at the opposite end of the spectrum. So, frankly, in my head goings, I'm kind of sitting here going, man, I don't love the vibes going into this game. Oregon went into the 2014 national championship against Ohio State, down a key player. Darren Carrington was their best receiver, and they struggled with drops and lost the game. How are the Hoosiers feeling going into the Peach Bowl?
I think both of our fan bases and probably both of our teams and both of your podcast hosts are feeling opposite of what the first matchup was, because Indiana going on the road, we were excited, right? We were excited, and I felt like Indiana could win that game, and I think I picked against Indiana because we just hadn't seen that yet against that level of a team on the road with all the hype and everything, right? And Oregon was, yeah, we got this. We're the better team. We're going to get this done. It's at home, right? It never rains at Autzen, and Dan Lanning doesn't lose at Autzen. That was kind of the mentality, right? And then Indiana wins the football game. here we are in round 2, part 2 of this rematch, and it seems like it's the opposite. Indiana's the number 1 team in the country. They just whooped Alabama and embarrassed them on national TV in the Rose Bowl, and now Indiana feels like they can't be stopped and that they're on their way to win a national championship. And Oregon is in the boat, kind of like you talked about, of, man, we've got some injuries and we're just not feeling it. The vibe isn't there. It's a long road trip, right? Cross country for the Ducks. And it just feels like the vibes have completely flipped from the first time to the second time. And the coordinator thing is such a good point that you bring up, because that has to have some sort of an impact. I don't know what, and it probably can't even be quantified, but it will have an impact because Oregon's coordinators are leaving, like you mentioned, for head coaching jobs. Indiana's coordinators just signed contract extensions where Bryant Haynes is making almost $3 million and Shanahan's making almost $2 million. That has to have some sort of a factor and a play here. And so does that mean that the result will be flipped? I sure hope not. But it is fascinating to see the different vibes. And Hoosier fans are as confident as they've ever been, man. They think they could beat the Cleveland Browns if they got on the same field right now.
I mean, that's the kind of football they've been playing. Ohio State was darn good, incredibly talented, and they suffered the curse of the bye, I guess, after Indiana beat them in the Big Ten championship game. But that the Hoosiers were able to overcome that, and Oregon fans went through it last year with the Ohio State thing, and bye teams are 1-7 in the college football playoff. I don't think when the new format gets debated, discussed, and ultimately announced for next season, I don't think you're going to have those long layoffs, which could be a good thing for college football. It might result in expanding the playoff to 16 teams, which, I'm not having that conversation.
Anti-expansionist.
I am an anti-expansionist. I think 12 is too many, but you know what? That's just me, and I've got a different philosophy on that. We'll keep it here on this game, though, and the quarterback battle in this one's interesting because Fernando Mendoza, if he wanted to, could come back, right?
I am speaking that into existence. It's not going to happen, but he could from an eligibility standpoint.
Right, and so too could Dante Moore. And Dante Moore's been the one flying up Mel Kiper's big board. I wish Mel Kiper would go on vacation or something, but he's the one that has kind of flown up the big board here. And yet I feel like Mendoza's fate of going to the NFL is far more sealed because Indiana's added Josh Hoover. Oregon hasn't added a transfer quarterback. And I think not just a chance to go play for a national championship, a chance to win your first ever title as a football program is on the line for Oregon, but Dante Moore's future could be on the line. Will this be the last game that he plays? I think if they win, obviously the answer is no, but the next game, if they win that one, could be the last one he plays. But I think the upside, if Oregon's not able to come back and get it done in this game, because of how I think it'll look, especially, I think you'll see Dante Moore come back because he's always had a very good head on his shoulders. He made a very mature veteran-type decision to come to Oregon, sit for a year behind Dylan Gabriel, and then step into the starting role. And if Oregon loses this game, I'd suspect Goins, there will be some similarities to the first one, and he might realize, I'm not ready for the NFL just yet, and another year of college football would help me out.
And I think that's what we've seen from these two guys in their performances. Wouldn't you agree that Fernando Mendoza looks much more pro-ready than Dante Moore? I'm willing to make the argument that Dante Moore might have a higher ceiling in the NFL because of his athleticism and playmaking ability. But Fernando Mendoza, if you gave him a week to study a pro playbook, he could go play next week and I think would survive. Would he be great? Not off the rip. But you get what I'm saying is Fernando Mendoza is much more NFL ready than Dante Moore. So it's a fascinating point because I don't think it's a horrible idea for Dante Moore to come back and play another year of college football and be possibly the number 1 overall pick next year. But I'm also in belief that in sports, anything can happen at any given time. In life, anything can happen at any given time. And if you're projected a first round pick, much less a lottery pick, I think you got to go. I think you got to take that chance, go get paid, make your money, and do what you got to do to take care of you and your family. So in this game in particular, I do think it's an offensive struggle. I've said that all week long. I think it's a low-scoring game. I think defenses are having a great time in this one, and that means Dante Moore struggles, and maybe Fernando Mendoza does too, but I bet on the better quarterback right now, and that's Fernando Mendoza in my opinion.
That's an interesting question. because I think the best game for Dante Moore looks better and is statistically better than the best game for Mendoza in this matchup. I think the worst game between the two is Dante Moore if he has a subpar performance. Does that make sense? Like Dante Moore, of the two, I think Moore is more likely to throw for 300 yards than Mendoza. That's not to say that I think it's really possible, because I'm with you. And it's kind of crazy to talk about how you've got two future top 5 picks at quarterback in this game. And I actually don't think either team is going to get to 20 points. I've got my score prediction, and I'll drop it later on the episode, of course. But I think that's a testament to the scheme that Bryant Haynes is running, the talent that they've got, and also the way this Oregon defense has been built and developed. And they have got so much talent all over the field. And, oh, by the way, they showed in the last game that they can make adjustments and improve from areas where they've struggled in the past. When they didn't do well against tempo at the end of last year, Texas Tech tried it, and they were ready for it immediately. And I think that what Oregon's defense has done, I've got so much confidence in that side of the ball. But I think it's more likely Oregon wins this game with defense and special teams than it is they win it with their offense, because I just trust Indiana's defense.
Yeah, and I know we got to get to break, and we'll talk more about this in the next segment, but I think the floors of these two quarterbacks is worse for Dante Moore, and that's worse for Oregon rather than Fernando Mendoza. What I mean by that is if Dante Moore has a mediocre to below average game, Oregon loses the football game. But if Fernando Mendoza has a mediocre to below average game, I still think Indiana can find ways to win because of the defense, because of running the football, which I know Oregon does as well, but injuries are stacking up for them. That's the difference for me. If both of these quarterbacks come out and light it up, then all bets are off and we'll see who wins, because I don't expect that to happen. But the quarterback matchup is just so intriguing to me.